The Italian Mafia and the Latin American cartels, two infamous criminal powerhouses. Yet their existence and dominance are entirely different. One operates like an underground empire with ironclad laws and absolute loyalty, while the other consists of ruthless warriors who control the market with blood and bullets. The Italian Mafia has existed for centuries, deeply embedded in the legal economy, whereas the cartels are a terrifying nightmare for entire nations. So, who is truly stronger? A sophisticated organization that controls from the shadows, or a killing machine ready to eliminate anyone in its way? Does true power lie in covert control or in the barrel of a gun? The Italian Mafia and Latin American drug cartels, both are infamous criminal powerhouses. Yet their existence, operations, and methods of maintaining power differ in astonishing ways. From a distance, they may seem alike, controlling illegal markets, bribing authorities, and using violence to enforce order. But upon closer inspection, their organizational structures and power dynamics reflect two entirely opposing philosophies, one built on strict discipline, the other on a chaotic yet highly adaptable network. The Italian Mafia, with its centuries-old history, has evolved into a highly structured system, almost like an underground government. Dating back to the 1800s, the Mafia emerged from protection groups in Sicily, where locals sought security from a corrupt ruling system. Over time, this system expanded beyond Italy, even establishing a strong foothold in the United States. The Mafia is not merely a criminal organization, it is a family, where every member must adhere to an unbreakable code. At the top of the Mafia hierarchy sits the boss, the supreme authority who dictates every strategic move. Beneath him is the consigliere, a wise advisor who helps guide critical decisions. Below them are the capos, leaders of smaller factions controlling specific territories. The lowest rank consists of soldados, the foot soldiers who carry out tasks ranging from extortion and assassination to overseeing black market operations. A defining feature of the Mafia is the omerta, the code of silence. Betrayal equals death. Every member must remain absolutely loyal, never divulging secrets, even under torture or imprisonment. This strict hierarchy and unwavering loyalty have allowed the Mafia to endure for centuries without complete collapse. Latin American cartels, however, operate in an entirely different manner. They lack a fixed hierarchical structure, functioning instead as loosely connected networks. While major cartels like Sinaloa, Medellin, and Jalisco New Generation have powerful leaders, their operations largely depend on shifting alliances between smaller groups. This model is both a strength and a weakness. Unlike the Mafia, cartels do not demand absolute loyalty. If a cartel boss is killed, another quickly takes his place. If one faction is wiped out, a new one rises. This resilience enables cartels to recover rapidly despite relentless government crackdowns. However, this very disorder makes cartels even more brutal. Anyone who stands in their way is eliminated instantly, without negotiation. So, which of these systems is more effective? One is structured, disciplined, and enduring but vulnerable to betrayal. The other is chaotic, ever-changing, yet nearly impossible to eradicate. If you were a crime lord, which would you choose to build your empire? A family governed by strict rules, or a battlefield where only the strongest survive? The ultimate goal of every criminal organization is money. But the way the Italian Mafia and Latin American cartels generate wealth reflects a fundamental difference in their mindset. While the Latin American cartels primarily focus on drug trafficking and are willing to kill to protect their profits, the Italian Mafia operates with far more sophistication. They do not rely solely on illegal activities but infiltrate legitimate industries, creating financial flows that even governments struggle to track and control. The Italian Mafia does not produce drugs, but they control the heroin trade from Afghanistan to Europe. They do not need to be directly involved in opium cultivation or heroin production. Instead, they leverage decades-old smuggling routes to ensure that drugs reach their destinations on time. More importantly, the Mafia has something the cartels lack: high-level money laundering capabilities. They own legitimate businesses such as restaurants, hotels, security firms, and even banks and investment funds. Money from illegal activities is funneled into these enterprises, legalized, and integrated into the mainstream economy. Some major European corporations today still bear traces of mafia influence. Yet no one can trace the true origin of their financial assets. In contrast, Latin American cartels operate with far more brutality. They have little interest in legal investments because the profits from drug trafficking are enormous. Cocaine from Colombia, Peru, and Bolivia is produced in massive quantities and then transported through Mexico to consumers in the US and Europe. The Sinaloa cartel alone generates over $12 billion annually from cocaine. A figure that even major multinational corporations would envy. But what sets the cartels apart is their approach. They do not need to hide much. They use money to bribe police, politicians, and even the military. If bribery fails, violence becomes the solution. They do not require financial corporations for money laundering because they control vast territories where the rule of law is virtually non-existent. The contrast between these two financial models raises a critical question. Which system is more powerful? One is a sophisticated, long-lasting structure that can survive for centuries without detection, while the other is a high-revenue empire that can collapse at any moment. The mafia endures across generations by legalizing its assets, whereas the cartels can amass immense wealth but are at constant risk of eradication whenever governments decide to crack down. If you had to choose a path to build your own criminal empire, would you opt for the mafia's quiet and enduring strategy or the cartel's rapid but highly volatile fortune-making? There is something strange about the underworld. Crime is not always condemned by society. In fact, some criminal organizations are even respected, despite everyone knowing they operate outside the law. The Italian Mafia and the Latin American cartels are both infamous criminal empires. Yet their public perception is vastly different. In some places, the Italian Mafia is seen as part of history and culture, while the cartels bring nothing but terror. But why is there such a stark contrast? The Italian Mafia has existed for centuries, and part of the reason it is not universally hated is because it operates in secrecy. It does not commit random killings or stage public massacres in the streets. Instead, it controls from the shadows, using money and influence to manipulate society. In regions like Sicily, some people even see the mafia as a form of protection because, in many cases, it accomplishes what the government cannot. It enforces its own laws, punishes those who break the code, and maintains order in its own way. However, make no mistake, the mafia is still terrifying. It will kill anyone who betrays it, but it does so discreetly, without spectacle. Because of this, people fear the mafia but still accept its existence. When an organization can control governments and manipulate the economy without resorting to street-level violence, its survival becomes almost inevitable. The Latin American cartels, on the other hand, do not care about societal acceptance. They rule through absolute terror. They murder openly, hang their enemies' bodies in public, and carry out mass executions of anyone who stands in their way. In Mexico and Colombia, there are regions where the government has almost no control because the cartels are too powerful. They own the police, politicians, and even the military. For the people living under cartel rule, silence is the only option. One wrong word can mean the disappearance of an entire family. So which form of control is more effective? One rules through open fear, turning its territories into war zones, while the other manipulates from the shadows, using wealth and connections to survive for centuries. If the cartels continue their path of brutality, can they ever achieve the mafia's longevity? Or will they ultimately destroy themselves through their own bloodshed? And if the Italian mafia can control society without ever revealing its true power, does that make it the most dangerous force of all? No commodity in the underworld generates as much profit as drugs. If weapons are the tools for controlling territory, then drugs are the lifeblood of criminal organizations. But the difference between the Italian mafia and the Latin American cartels is not just in what they trade, it is in how they control this market. One operates like a financial conglomerate, managing distribution networks from the shadows, while the other dominates through absolute power and violence. The Italian mafia does not produce drugs, but it is a highly intelligent intermediary. Since the 1970s, it has controlled the Balkan route, the pipeline that moves heroin from Afghanistan through the Middle East into Europe. The Mafia does not participate directly in production but masters the logistics of transportation and distribution, ensuring that the heroin supply reaches local dealers without disruption. This is how the Mafia operates. It remains invisible, keeps its hands clean, yet reaps enormous profits from the drug trade. Cocaine is another lucrative commodity. But the Italian Mafia does not dominate this market. Cocaine belongs to the Latin American cartels. While the Mafia acts as the unseen force controlling the drug flow into Europe, the cartels command the entire supply chain from production to distribution. They do not need to buy from anyone, they grow, process, transport, and control the market themselves. Cocaine is their primary product, with supplies coming mainly from Colombia, Peru, and Bolivia. The cartels have secret laboratories, exclusive trafficking routes, and even their own fleets of submarines to smuggle drugs into the US and Europe. Unlike the Mafia, the cartels do not shy away from direct confrontation with governments. They will attack security forces, bribe officials, or simply eliminate anyone who stands in their way. This contrast raises a crucial question between a sophisticated organization that manipulates the market from the shadows and a brutal force that dominates through sheer power. Which is truly more formidable? The Italian Mafia has survived for centuries by staying hidden, but the cartels control the entire supply chain, making them nearly impossible to replace. If one cartel collapses, another quickly takes its place. Governments can seize a shipment of cocaine or eliminate a kingpin, but they cannot dismantle an entire drug production system stretching from South to North America. So, in the end, who is the true ruler of the drug trade? The Mafia, with its intelligent, low-profile approach, or the cartels, with their total control and ability to generate billions every year? If you were to build a drug empire, which path would you choose, staying hidden and manipulating from afar? Or taking direct control and fighting to protect your empire? Two powers, two methods of operation, two paths to underworld domination. The Italian Mafia, sophisticated, controlling everything from the shadows. The cartels, brutal, ruling through blood and sheer power. If you had to choose a path to becoming a crime boss, which would it be? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Hit like and subscribe to continue uncovering the mysteries of the underworld.